Here's the thing about Germany, why I made a curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Community, heart,
Fun it is to laugh and sing in the sleigh bells tonight. What's going on? What's going on, people? How you doing? This is hashtag TFR Podcast Live OB episode 18. You know, I'm going back to the classic way of doing things because we're updating the computers for what's coming up next on Sunday. Let me see what we see here. They say something about tagging people. I've never seen that feature before. Share it to a group. It's not doing it though. Interesting. But anyway, people, listen. As soon as my co-host comes in, we will get this started, right? What's up to the people who are coming in or chiming in? Again, this is hashtag TFR Podcast Live OB. We are doing it the classic way today. You get to see it stripped down because I'm on my green screen. You know, you see the green screen behind me, how it all happens, right? When we have all the images flying behind us and everything on hashtag TFR Podcast Live that comes on Sundays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern on the Film Review Live channel. Make sure that you go there and you subscribe. Let's see. Approve. Answer the request. Approve. Adding my co-host. She's coming in now. And we're going to be talking as soon as she comes in. So look. It's saying adding. I don't know how long it's going to take. But it's adding. So anyway, people. Sundays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Hey, what's going on? There's my co-host.
Hey.
My co-host, Tanya M. Congress. So I was just telling them that, you know, I'm doing some updates for the computer for some new features on Sunday.
Okay.
For the 5:30 p.m. show, which is the Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast. Every Sunday at 5:30 on the Film Review Live channel. So we're doing it the classic way today. Don't forget to plug in your headset so we won't have any feedback. Can you hear me clearly?
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Be right back.
So, in the morning, people, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. I have 2 apples during COVID. Eat the apples in the morning. You know, I'm enjoying it. So what's our topic for today, people? What's our topic for today? Our topic on episode 18 of TFR Podcast Live OB, that's hashtag TFR Podcast Live Observations with your host, Crazy D, by Crazy D, with my special guest host, Tanya M. Congress. What we're talking about
one
today
second
is,
while I get this stuff set up here.
Okay.
It's a quick.
What we're talking about
change.
is Trump's Patriotic Education Commission 1776 executive order. Did you hear about that executive order, people? You should have heard about that executive order. You know, these things aren't letting me do what they say it can do. They say share to different places. I'm pressing the buttons. I'm trying to tag people. Nothing is coming up.
Well, it moves very slow. It moves very slow. Yes, very slow.
I'm not used to this slow return on things. But anyway,
yeah.
People, you know. Oh, here we are. Clean your lens. You get a towel real quick and clean your lens. So you had that crystal clear picture there.
Let's see here.
All right. Apple a day gives the doctor away to ensure that you never have to see him through COVID. That's just my opinion.
That's funny.
My observation. You know what I mean? So anyway, yesterday on the show, we were talking about. I'm gonna need my producer to put this out on a couple of pages, swing it out on a couple of different pages so that people know that we're on. Because like I said, we're doing it the old school. The computer is doing updates for the Sunday show, so we can bring some new surprises to you. Okay? So look. Yesterday we were talking about CRT, which is critical race theory, right? Critical race theory, we were talking about that yesterday, and lo and behold, something afterwards that happened around 5 o'clock cemented to us that what we were talking about was truly on point, and that people needed to be listening to what we had to say, right? And what has come of it is critical legal studies. That's what Trump signed into law. You see, Trump came on television last evening with a press conference. See, I told you, it's always very important to watch the press conferences, right? Because the press conferences tell you what's really going on. And if you don't watch the press conferences, you won't know. And if you don't watch alternative television, other stations, you won't know what's going on. We told you, get out the echo chamber. How many people knew that critical race theory was actually being implemented in schools? Thank you, Tracy Latrice. Looks good. Thank you. How many knew that critical race theory was actually being implemented through different levels of the society since 1989? And what is critical race theory? It's based on thoughts from Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, and Franz Roland or Forlan. Yeah, he's a psychiatrist or psychologist, right? And it's theories that are based on non-European thought. And this was being implemented throughout all of the school systems, right? Throughout the United States government. And Trump, in one fatal swoop, criticizing critical race theory as being something that was non-patriotic. Remember, we talk about when you're out there protesting, when you're sitting up there trying to run the gauntlet between the arsonists, or excuse me, not arsonists, but anarchists, and the accelerationists. If you don't know what that is, you need to go back and watch all of our shows, episodes 1 through 17, and take a look at that. 1 through 17. While you're running a gauntlet between these two groups that are both Caucasian, one co-opting Black Lives Matter, and the other just wanted to see the fall of the state as which is the accelerationist, and then both groups want to see the fall of the state, which is the United States of America, which leaves American Black people in the middle effed up, if you know what I'm saying. So Trump came out in fatal swoop and signed away the 1619 Project. He was basically saying that American history doesn't start until 1776, that the first 20 slaves that were brought to Virginia in 1619, they don't matter. They don't matter at all. It doesn't matter, right? So in one fatal swoop, he signs this and says the 1619 Project is unpatriotic. It's causing dissension between the people, that critical race theory based on Martin Luther King, again, Malcolm X, and a certain psychologist, that doesn't matter, but that the critical legal studies matters, which is based on Freud, Karl Marx, and this guy named Hegel, right? So in one fatal swoop, he did this, and we were telling you about this and telling you that what is the price? Don't say, damn, when you hear the price. That was yesterday's show. Don't say, damn, when you hear the price. Well, what is the price of American black people not being exclusively about American black people and trying to build these different coalitions with these different wacko jacko type of organizations that are Caucasian based? What is the price? The price is Donald Trump just signed that executive order. And we've been trying to tell you, right? Everything that we have said from episode 1 through 17, this is episode 18. Everything that we have told you up to this point has come to pass. And this is another situation where this is coming to pass. Tanya Congress says, hey, Tracy Latrice. So look, people. So let's go through what we're talking about for people who did not see Trump sign the executive order yesterday. Tanya, let's go through what the executive order, the Patriotic Education Commission 1776 executive order, what he's actually signed into being activated to overtake critical CRT, critical race theory.
So what he's referring to it as is patriotic education. So I'm looking at an article that said he will sign, but he's done it now. So that was past tense, and it was to encourage our educators to teach our children about the miracle of American history and make plans to honor the 250th anniversary of our founding. So in that, he doesn't want, he's like, referring back to certain things, or the shameful part of our history is not something that they want to refer back to in the teaching of the students. So there are mixed feelings on that. There's mixed feelings on, well, should that be taught in our schools or should it not be taught in our schools? And it depends on how you look at it and what side of the coin, what you stand to gain or what you stand to lose by the teaching, because in the teaching, it's also encouraging that it says that parents are racist that don't stand against speaking against the things, the normal social ills that we see that have become normal that shouldn't have been, like police brutality against black people and so on and so forth. And that's traced back to slavery and how that came in. So he signed an order to say, we're going back to, it's the CL, not the CR, right?
CLS, Critical Legal Studies.
Instead of, which was what Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all of them were about, as opposed to the CRT.
No, CRT is what they were for. CLS is what Freud and Marx and all of them were for.
Okay. So
that's what Trump is for. Trump is for that.
Right. So now, just as Dee said, here we are at a pinnacle of what we've been talking about. So this is what happens when we stand idly by. People make decisions for hiding things or for revealing things. Now, what do you think is going to happen with this election and how that's going to go? And I have to remember, I'm looking at my phone camera, not my computer camera, because I have it up behind here. Hold on one second. I probably should turn that off. I'm getting confused. Okay, so We have to think about what are we going to be looking at when it comes to this election. It's going to be more of the same stuff. Sweep your concerns under the rug, exit out, keep it in the closet, and we'll deal with that sometime later, probably 200 years from now.
You see, because people, we constantly tell you, you can put the blame on others, but you really have to put the blame on yourself. We have to put the blame on ourselves. We have to say, hey, why were we constantly on this hamster wheel that had us on this hamster wheel that thought that nothing was changing? How come we weren't aware of CRT? How come our so-called leaders didn't make us aware of CRT, of critical race theory? Why didn't they?
Could it have been that they may not have, some of them may not have known? I don't know how, if you was marching and all of that stuff, but I don't know how, but could it have been that some of them didn't know?
Or could it be that some of them didn't know where they were going? Mm-hmm. If all of a sudden what their purpose was no longer necessary for them to be there because it would have been solved. Right. So is it that? And now we're sitting at a situation where we have feckless leadership. I was invited to a Zoom meeting, right? Mm-hmm. for some local leaders around the Las Vegas area. And I went, but when I came in, I purposely didn't say anything because everyone knows my writing and what I write about. And what I was writing about strong before I was invited, I used to go when it was actually a physical sit down with a breakfast. Mm-hmm. And everyone knows my writing. And I was telling people, people are feckless. We are suffering from feckless leadership, right? And so, what does feckless leadership mean, people? Feckless leadership has to do with people who, it just appears to me, just my opinion, this is observations, #TFR Podcast Live OB, okay? Just my observations on it. People seem to believe that they can't do anything without the Caucasian. They can't even strictly organize to mobilize or mobilize to organize. That's feckless leadership. They seem not to be able to organize to mobilize, or to mobilize to organize without the need of having a Caucasian there to hold their hand. And the way that we look at it, I look at it from a CRT point of view. I guess some of the others must be looking at it from a CLS point of view. Critical race theory. I look at it from that point of view and I say, that person that is in there that is a Caucasian that is coming in is being the overseer. They're coming in to oversee and make sure that what you're doing will not upset the apple cart, their apple cart in some kind of way, that the structure of how the hierarchy works and who's on top and who's on the bottom will basically remain the same, because there will be no actual change, because people keep being on this hamster wheel and keep talking and complaining, but never self-organize to mobilize, or self-mobilize to organize without someone from the other culture being there, right? And this is what Donald Trump is ensuring, in that when he signed this executive order yesterday. about patriotic, right? Now, we told you that when you're out there and you're protesting and you're in this gauntlet, like we said before, when they say USA, you say USA, 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 because you built this boy. But now that he signed this to start this commission to change up the history books even more to make it only patriotic history, how much more patriotic can you be if you
Then to tell the truth.
Then to tell the truth? And how much more patriotic are you if you are a people who have been here, who built it, who fought in every war, who died in every war, who believed in the system, who are not easily swayed like some of the immigrants are coming out? How much more patriotic are you? So when they say USA, you say USA. Other than that, you're playing in somebody else's communist, Marxist studying capitalism, ending up in conclusion that it should be communism. You're playing in their ball field. And we told you that the anarchists and the accelerationists are one and the same, two sides of the same coin.
I mean, I'm sorry, I'm getting used to this format. Looking for you to load me back in so I can be heard. Yeah. So yeah, it is that's a point that it looks like we're incapable of doing this stuff by ourselves, which kind of speaks to their point in thinking that we're inept, even though that's not true. That's not true, but because this is the presentation that we have, it's like, well, what do you need them for? Like the ones that went to the city hall and forced their way in while they had two Caucasian females in their ear, and then they didn't come in in a raucous, but you had them there to steer you and lead you and guide you. You're the only ones getting arrested. And yet they're coming in, they're sliding in on a cause, sliding in on civil rights, sliding in on Black Lives Matter, sliding in on stuff, and then coming to monitor you until they can find a good old boy supervisor to put in place, like in the slave video, the plantation videos. Some of the leaders that we have that remain, some of them are supervisors, some of them are managers, making sure that you communicate their concerns and communicate the way that they need things to go without them having to come in and say anything. But the ones that are standing up and trying to say something, they are on a whole nother agenda, anarchist agenda, but they're sliding it in with your name on it, with black on it, with Black Lives Matter. So, I mean, and we're going to keep sitting here. I mean, how long is it going to take before you get a clue? Is it, so now we got executive orders being signed saying patriotic education. Well, let's see here. We already didn't have a whole lot of education on Black history per se. That should be required. It should be required, but it never was. So, I mean, that wasn't patriotic, that you were had already put it off to the side. So now you just don't want any of the truth being told. Now that doesn't sit well with me. You can, so that means.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
See, so what that means is we have to take responsibility as American Black people. If you did not know about CRT, critical race theory, make sure that you look it up or go back and watch our episode 17. Watch our episode 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 1 through 10. Make sure you listen because we've been building, but from 11 to now 18, we have been building and bringing this, but we have to take responsibility on ourselves for what's going on now. We have to take responsibility for it. It's our fault that this is going on because we did not get off the hamster wheel. You're on the hamster wheel. You're saying, oh, if we do it this way. Listen, here's something. racism isn't going to stop when President Trump is out of office. Racism isn't going to stop.
It's gonna get worse.
If Biden gets in office, if Biden gets in office. Listen. So like I said, I was at this meeting that usually happens, and I sat there purposely quiet. I came in and they saw me come in, of course I was lit up, like I usually am, and I had my background behind me, And so I just sat there and watched this one representative from a district out here in Las Vegas. And John Lewis had just passed, right? But she said that she's Caucasian, she had just got elected to her seat, right? She just got elected and she might have been there for no more than about a year. And then so John Lewis had been sick and in and out, so it was like really no time for you to really get to know him. So when she said yes, and John, she just mentioned John Lewis, and then she started acting like she was getting ready to tear up. I said, "You didn't know John Lewis?" I'm thinking to myself, you didn't know John Lewis, and I'm sitting here listening. I'm looking at all these people come in and they overseers. Until we, whatever different conclaves of us, whatever it takes, sit down, mobilize and organize without needing the help or feeling that we need to have someone in there to oversee us while we do and say what we say. Once we come out with what we demand, we should be saying reparations back then, reparations now, reparations in the future. If you do not give us that, if you do not give us what is owed to us, we will not give you a vote. Now, yesterday, usually we have visual aids, but we're doing it the classic way today, right? Now, yesterday we talked about how they gave the Iran mullahs 150 billion, right? 150 billion a year, right? And then we divided it by 44, it's a billion, and we divided it by 44 million. My wife and I did this last night. 44 million. We were talking about how much of a help that would be a year for American blacks starting to begin to pay reparations, right? So guess how much 150 billion divided by 44 million is, Tanya? Per person.
You said say that one more time.
150 billion minus 44 million. Guess how much that is per person? 44 per American black person in America, starting to take care of reparations per year, paying per year. How much that would break down to?
That 106, that'd be 106 billion?
Not even close. Look. $3,409, and I rounded up. It's 10 cents. $3,409.10 a year if it was because they were giving them 150 billion a year. The mullahs in Iran, right? They were giving them that. $3,409.10.
$3,000.
$3,000. Okay. So let's take $150 trillion divided by 44 million. And guess what that is?
Well, it should give us
per person.
That should give us at least some double-digit thousands.
3,409,090.91. That sounds more like it per year to correct the problem. But as long as we have people sitting around thinking that we can just reason it out, you're not going to be able to reason it out with these people. You can see what Trump did. And again, I want to say again, the Holy Bible. And what I want to say again is you're not going to be able to reason with these people. The people are not interested in reasoning with you.
Not at all.
They're not interested. We can already see this because Donald Trump, listen, Donald Trump is only doing with what his constituency is telling him they want done. You see, I think a lot of black people are afraid to really look at reality. The reality is that when Donald Trump was renting in his high-rise apartments in New York City, he wasn't renting to American blacks because the tenants didn't want you there. Right? Where is our lobbying groups? All we do is sit up and complain. We'll talk about the head of HUD. What's his name? Gifted Hands. We'll talk about Gifted Hands, right? But we will complain, but where's our lobbying group to go up against that lobbying group that believes? There he is. Gifted Hands. Yeah.
I just happen to have that sitting right here. I don't read it, but
Carson, that book was given to me by a mentor. I was freshman in college, and they gave us like mentors that were like seniors, right? And she gave me this. No, that was my sophomore year. She gave me that book, and she was a prof, and she gave me that book of Gifted Hands by Ben Carson, right? And I am proud to say that I didn't read that book. I didn't read it. I looked at it. It was something about. Put the book back up real quick. It was something about the way he was on the cover, and it was the way his hands looked. Right. I was looking at his hands, and I was looking at his face. Then I said, "This dude looked like a coon." I ain't gonna, but I didn't use those words back then. I just didn't like his look, and it made me so I didn't want to read the book. And so I did not read, and I'm so happy I did not read Ben Carson's book, because I would not have wanted to be inflicted with this. Now look, we complain about not having a seat at the table, and we just told you in episode 17, you don't know what a person can do until you see them at the table. The whole thing also is, why would you have a seat at the table until you look to see what's on the table? When you walk past, I don't know if I want them ham hocks because I'm a vegetarian or I'm a vegan, so I may not want to eat that, but I may want to bring something to the table which is more logical for health reasons, and there's no such thing as wrong logic by pluralism. We talked about that yesterday, right? But what they are saying with Donald Trump signing this, what's it called again? It's called the Patriotic Education 1776 Commission. The commission that he just signed the executive order for. And he says that the 1619 project is invalid and is ideological poison. We've been trying to tell you that you have to get off the hamster wheel. Where's our lobbying groups? He's only doing what is there. Biden will only do for the people who are in his face. You have to be in his face. Again, people, racism doesn't end. Racism doesn't end if Trump gets out of there. Matter of fact, Biden in there is a bigger racist because he put your people in prison with 101 and 3 strikes. but you're going to put this man in. So we're going to tell you again, whoever wins the election, you have to be up in their face. I told people in the very beginning, first of all, there were people who I knew were popping fresh into politics because they were saying, oh yeah, Donald Trump, they're going to have Donald Trump out there in a few months. They're going to have him out there in a year stretched to 2, year stretched to 3, year stretched to, now we're in the 4th year. And I was shaking my head back then saying, no, they're not going to get him out because he's fighting about his name. When a person is fighting about the name that they made, this is a different thing. So all these popping fresh people who thought they knew so much about politics was talking about, oh, he's gonna be out there. They're gonna get him out of there. They went through all this. They started coming up with lies to try to get him, and they did not get him out. And all the time I was saying is, black people are shooting themselves in the foot, following behind these Caucasians that are liberal because they now are focusing on anarchists who want the fall of the state, and the Dixies are showing themselves to be like they were during slavery. They were the ones who succeeded from the Union, right? All I said was American black people need to have their representation there outside of this liberal trying to be loyal to a party that is not giving you anything. You got to be up in your face. You got to be lobbying for American black. I'm not about being a coon for the Democrat Party, not about being a coon for the Republican Party, not about being a coon for the liberal or the libertarian or the nonpartisan parties. I'm not about that, because when it all wraps up, when you start saying we need our reparations, you know what they say? The anarchists and the accelerationists join together and say, you know what, you ain't getting nothing, Nick.
See, in him in signing that executive order, he's addressing a particular thing that needs to be addressed. He's addressing the anarchists and he's addressing that. But unfortunately, that means everything about our history concerning this country gets rolled up into that and swept under the rug because we're not there to say anything. So if you're not saying anything, that signifies you agree. If you're not going to say anything, listen, sitting up in the barbershop or sitting on the back pew after church or whatever it is that everybody does when they're discussing politics and don't really know nothing and just got an opinion based on half information, you know, that's not being heard in the main marketplace. That's not being heard. Nobody's hearing that. Nobody's bringing that forward. So now, unfortunately, our history is rolled up in that instead of there being someone there to say, hey, I get your point. I see what you're coming against, but see, we don't have too many of us that know. So it could be somebody there saying, I see what you're doing by signing this order. You're coming against a particular thing. I see it. But we're going to have to amend that. We're going to have to amend a portion of that order because it's the most patriotic thing in the world is truth. How come it would be a better testimony to say that we've come through all of these things and look at where we've come now that we have given you guys your reparations. See, if you ignore the past regarding us, then you don't want to address the present that has come from the past. And long as nobody's saying anything, we're going to be sitting here. We're going to be sitting here still discussing. If nobody steps up, where are our leaders? This is what I need. This is what we need. We need, for those of you who listen to this broadcast.
Uh-oh. Did they freeze you? I think they froze you. What's going on? Did they freeze? Are you hearing us?
Sorry. This a phone call came in. You can't, it interrupts the broadcast. So we need for you to help us make this go viral. We want to know where our active leaders are. We want to know where our active leaders are that are not having their palms greased. We want to know where our active leaders are who have the testicular fortitude to come down front and center and say, hey, we need to do an amendment. Okay, you did this. He already signed it. But listen, rules are made to be broken. Rules always got some kind of underbelly that says, oh, we can make an amendment on the rule. We can amend the rules. So we need somebody, if you've been leading everything else and flying everywhere else and speaking everywhere else, we need you to get on this train and say, we need to amend. We need to add some amendments to this executive order, because we're not going to stand to be made insignificant after it's patriotic to say we were in this country. It's patriotic to say we built this country and we're proud Americans too. But you're not gonna sweep me under the rug as a proud American. I'm a proud American because my ancestors or my forefathers helped build this country. I'm a proud American because I'm a productive member of society currently. So you're not going to sweep my past under the rug and say, as if it didn't exist, like it didn't exist. Like it didn't exist. That's what this is doing. I don't think that was his main point in doing that, however. But because we're not present, it's like when you're in school and the teacher takes roll call, see who's in class. Ellsbury, here. Tanya, here. Whoever, Emmanuel, here. Tracy, here. You know, but if they call your name, Gustavulus.
Oh, you're not in the room? Oh, well,
so
hey, no need to
exactly.
count you.
She looks
Right.
down at her pad and she marks you absent. And if you're marked absent, today was a test day. You're marked absent and the final exam was today. You get an F. Because you were not present when your name was called.
Isn't that what good citizenship and merit roll and honor roll was all about? You know what I mean? I would even add in the spelling bee, but the spelling every Friday, right? But good citizenship, merit roll, honor roll. It taught you to stand up and be present, right? We talked about Stanley Crouch, who passed. We talked about him yesterday on the show. And he called the black, because he got disillusioned with Black Power, and he called it the lost generation. And back then in the 90s when he was saying that, I couldn't catch him on that. You know, I was interested in what he was saying, and I would listen to what he had to say, and I wouldn't discount it, but I was like, maybe I need to get some more information under my belt before I can take what he's saying and be able to understand it or have a middle standing or overstanding of it. Now, being in the game, registering people to vote since I was 19 years old, I'm 49. That's 30 years of registering people to vote and watching as each candidate comes up there and promises what they're going to do, but they don't promise anything to American black people to correct the wrong that was initially done to them, right? No one ever addresses what initially has been done. You can feel free to write comments and we will read your comments right over as we go on the show. This is TFR Podcast Live OB, that's Observations, episode 18. Listen, no one ever goes through and says, okay, we're going to hear, we saw your grievances, we've heard your grievances from the Panthers way back in 1966, and they had the 10-point plan. We've heard you. The pastors have a 10-point plan that everybody called them coons because they were standing around Donald Trump. They have a 10-point plan. Black people haven't even took an opportunity to read their 10-point plan. And we read it on episode, what was that, 16? I think it was 16. We read it and we went through it, and 4 out of the 10 have already been implemented. But you know what it would take? It would take black people getting off their butt and getting in this man's face to implement the next 6. But you know who is in his face? The accelerationists and saying that the arsonists or the people who want to drop the country out there, the anarchists right now that are posing as Black Lives Matter. That's one thing. If people take one thing out this message, take this. When they say Black Lives Matter on TV, they know that those are white people who have co-opted the name, who are accelerationists and arsonists and anarchists. Put them all together, they're on the same boat. They're against American blacks.
AAA.
Because if you drop the state, then you're not gonna get what is coming to you, right? So I was at that meeting that usually happens, right? And you know, it was over on Zoom, and you know, they haven't invited me back. But I just sat there and listened. I listened to the woman talking about that, you know, she started tearing up, and I'm looking at her, and now she's in the news because her husband owns some hotels out this way, and she's in the news. Now, these are just observations and our opinions, right? So I'll let you know, right? You know, you have to go do the research and get off the hamster wheel and make your mind state and not mindset. So she's there and she's talking about how John Lewis, she started tearing up, and I'm like, this is pandering. This is pandering. I'm thinking to myself, this is pandering. And these people are sitting up here and they're trying to discuss with the people, but you didn't have anything to discuss with them other than to have them come on and ask them what they're doing. Why are we having a meeting? American blacks are calling a meeting and having all these representatives and state representatives come and federal representatives come and the House and the Senate and all of them there on this call, or their representatives or their aides were there because some felt that it was not important to be there on the Zoom. You're there and you don't have anything that you are demanding. You know, all you're saying is we got to get out there and vote. You're playing the party like we got to get out and vote to get old boy out of there. Like racism started with old boy when he got in office. You know what happened? The racists were able to come from off under the covers, and you want to put somebody in there so that they will act like so they will go back in the covers. You want to just have blinders on. You want to be blind with your third eye. You cannot be blind with your third eye. I'm sitting there listening. I'm listening. I'm sitting there just listening because the best thing that you can do in a conversation is listen. So I'm listening to what they're doing, and there was no demands. Where are the demands? Do you want our vote? It's not, we got to get him out of there. You want our vote? Then where's the reparations talk? HR 40 bill. They talked about it on June 20. What was that? June 20. They talked about it on TV. But then after that, they didn't talk about it no more. And the person that's ahead of it, she may be black in skin, but she's an immigrant. And we've been showing you and telling you about the immigrants. What's going on? What is going on? What is going on? You're having a meeting. You're not in there talking about these are our demands. No, you're saying we got to get them out of there. Like that loyalty is going to get you something. The loyalty is not going to get you anything. I am not a Democrat coon. I am not a Republican coon. I am not an independent coon. I am not a nonpartisan coon. I am an American black citizen of the United States of America, the corporation, and I want my reparations. And if you're not talking about it, we will sit this out and we will be out there truly boycotting, moving the anarchists aside, moving the accelerationists out the way, and saying, USA, give us that. We're not gonna coalition or connect with different people who are Caucasian because they co-opted and take it to do their own thing, and they go back to their lily rich lifestyle. Listen to our episodes of 1 through 17. We're right there on Apple Podcasts. You can go listen to them on your favorite podcast provider. You can listen to it. TFR, hashtag TFR Podcast Live OB. So I'm sitting there in the meeting and I'm waiting for someone to come up and say that. It's not my place because they invited me. I'm just going to sit back and observe. They wouldn't want me to keep coming back though, because they didn't invite me back because it was like, he was sitting there quiet. I was just sitting there like, I can't believe this. Oh, we got to get him out of there. No, we're not going to get him out of there unless you start talking about some reparations. When you going to start talking about reparations? Reparations back then, reparations right now, and reparations in the future. We need reparations to be made whole, to be repaired for the damage that was done to us. Anything else does not work, and we cannot afford to go more generations down the line, way down the line, because they are bringing immigrants in. Have you read Biden's plan? Have you read Biden's plan? Biden's plan puts American blacks more into debt, more debt.
Come on.
He gives them a TIN number. I keep telling you, a tax identification number, which means they can get a driver's license. They don't give them subsidized housing in the suburbs. They're gonna give them free health care, no co-pays. They're gonna give them a job, and guess who's gonna be training them? We keep telling you, guess who's gonna be training them at the job? You. And next year, if the Democrats get in there, you're gonna be getting your pink slip, and you will have trained your replacement. Come on now, we want what the Panthers said back in 1966. We want what the preacher said way back in 2017, and we want, what's up to Robin Gilmore? I see that she's watching. And we want reparations, and we want what the immigrant is getting, the illegal immigrant. We want what the illegal immigrant is getting, because we are American black citizens in the USA, in the United States of America, the corporation, and we built this boy. You know, there's the accelerationist one rail, right? On the other side is the arsonists. I'm just gonna call them arsonists, right? But in the middle is the third rail. The third rail is what keeps it moving. And you know what keeps this moving? What is the electric to this United States of America? Is the American black man and the American black woman. There is no replacement for that ability and that knowledge that we have. And we can no replacement talk about we gonna just be loyal. We're gonna just be loyal. We're not gonna be anarchists and say that the America needs to fall. We're not gonna be accelerationists, America needs to fall, but we're gonna be right there on your butt to make sure that we get what we get for being the third rail. The electricity that makes this boy run is the American black man and the American black woman. That's it. Anything else does not work. We have to come together ourselves outside of needing someone else. We need to come into the room with ourselves and mobilize to organize to mobilize amongst ourselves. And when we go to functions where there are breakfasts or there are meetings, we say, this is what we want, or no vote.
Absolutely.
This is what we want, or no
vote. No vote. And when it comes around to another 4 years, and I don't hear, I'm good about, because the older I get, I have less time to waste playing around with people. So when I walk into something or I turn on the dial and you're not saying, I haven't heard reparations in the first 20 minutes of the conversation. Haven't heard it. It's not, so that means it's not your priority. You haven't started out with it. It's not your priority. Well, it's mine. So that means, what that means is I tune you out. I'm not interested in nothing else until I hear, let's go back to the first order. I'm just like God. He gives a order. He gives a direction. And so he ain't answering nothing else until you go back to the last direction he gave you. Right? So I'm the same way. So just like we are if we're passive and don't say anything, then we're in agreement with whatever is going on. I don't care whether you say you're not or not. If you're not being actively, if you're not being a voice within your sphere of influence, I don't care if it's at work. I don't care if it's in your family. I don't care if you close to grandmama and that's the only influence you got. If you're not using your voice to be an influence to move this machine along in our favor, then you're in agreement with whatever is in place and whatever is going on. And equally, by them continuing to overlook and now wanting to X our place or the realities of the things that transpired during slavery and the whole slavery movement period, by them wanting to excise that out of the educational system, they are equally in agreement with what happened to us. If they're not, if this is the stand they're going to take, but let me repeat, I don't think that was the intention of the president, but because you have these anarchists and different people that are coming along, the AAAs, the anarchists, arsonists, and what was the other word you used?
Accelerationists.
Accelerationists, the AAAs. Since you got AAAs coming along and they're doing what they're doing, he has to address that to shut that down because it's unpatriotic. They're talking about tearing the state down. They're talking about tearing the country down. Why would we tear a country down that we built? The majority of it was built by us, and it's being fueled by us, and it's running by us. So why would we tear it down? Why would we tear it down when we built it? That would seem like we need some fan app. You can go back and you can go back in earlier episodes and find out about the schizophrenic drug. Fan app.
That's right.
It would say that we have. Go ahead.
We played those commercials and you have to see it. Listen, people, look. Anarchists, arsonists, and accelerationists. Each side, accelerationist is the alt-right. They believe in racial conflict to such a point, accelerated to such a point that it collapses the state. Anarchists believe that capitalism is wrong and they are Marxists, and all a Marxist is someone who studies capitalism, studies the effect of it on workers, on the society, etc., and comes to the conclusion that communism is the way to go. Nobody's going that way, because if you go through history, you find out that when they had people who were communists and all that, they went against black people. This already been, we already know this, but you have to know both sides have arsonists. They're the ones out there who are destroying and want to burn things down to the ground, making such a chaos that the state falls, right? So when my sister is talking about that he's addressing it because of the anarchists, he did say because of the anarchists, but I do not doubt that Donald Trump is a racist. But I surely don't doubt that Biden is a racist. We have showed you. You can go back to watch episode 17. We have facts, we have video, we have memes, we have everything to let you know that Biden is a racist. Donald Trump did not let people rent in his place. Biden brought about 101 and 3 strikes. He decimated the black community. Donald Trump was following his constituency. Both of them are racist, right? So, but the main point is black people have to start getting off their butt. And it's our fault. It's our fault that we did not know about CRT. It is our fault. We have to begin to acknowledge that a lot of this is our fault. We have to get our kids up and ready to be able to ascend into the higher offices of the land, all the way to the presidency, all the way to diplomats speaking what is considered foreign languages, speaking to Ukrainians as American blacks. Yeah. This is what we're supposed to be doing. This whole thing about, oh, America's, when you're leaving, when are you leaving? If America is the place that you don't want to be, my people built this, I won't be here. If it's not the place that you want to be, when you're taking the boat over to the third world continent.
When
you're taking it over to the place where the lights go out and it's rolling outages. When lights go out here, you know, we have people who know about the grid. I knew a black dude in particular who came from Cleveland, Ohio, Antoine. Twan would come in every time he came back from being down south where the hurricanes came, setting back up the high tension electrical grid. He would come in, buy a lot of music, tell me about where he'd been. Sunburned, man. Black man, sunburned. Light-skinned black man, sunburned red. You know what I mean? Out there doing it. Where are your people that know how to lay out a grid when you're leaving? I wish you would go so that we can have clarity and understanding, middle standing, and oversight. When are you leaving to go back to Africa? We want you to go ahead and go back to that third world continent while they're running over here. You're running over there, giving up your birthplace. When you're leaving, so that we can be clear about what the fight is to make sure that our people are placed in the places they are supposed to be and advance to the highest level of offices, all the way up into the presidency as American black people who were descendants of slavery, not people who are immigrants that put on the skin. Now go back and watch episodes 1 through 10 because we're not going to rehatch because we keep on moving forward. But this is like a recap day, and because Monday we're coming with reparations back then, reparations right now, and reparations in the future. That's the name of the show on Monday, right? This one right here is like a recap of what we were talking about. And what we were talking about just yesterday came into the news cycle later that evening when Donald Trump signed his legislation about forming a patriotic education commission to write books that are patriotic, starting at 1776, negating what he called poisonous ideology with 1619. You see? And he's only doing what his constituents, because they're up in his butt. And so American blacks have to be up in whoever's butt is there. And if you sit back and you relax and you listen to the talking heads and the boule and all these fake people that's just trying to get position in the White House, if you keep listening to them, the blacks will be underserved. They will have theirs, but we as a whole will have nothing, which means that we fall down into the shit. Why do they still have to have a commission about reparations when they already have ADOS? It's already laid out there for you. We're talking about trillions of dollars. 51 trillion. I just laid out that 150 trillion divided by 44 million is 3,409.90 We need that a year. We need that a year per person. We need that $150 trillion every year, right? But listen, the Dems, before Biden got in there and laid out his platform, because you can read his plan. Before he laid out his plan, the Democrats like Cory Booker were tossing around and just throwing out there $2,000 a month, all right?
$2,000 a month?
Well, no, not for reparations. Just $2,000 a month for each American, right? $2,000 a month for each American, right? That's what they were tossing around. Now that Biden has his thing, they haven't done anything. But you know what they're doing for immigrants? Read Biden's plan. All you got to do is read Biden's plan and see what he's doing for illegal immigrants. We keep telling you, and you're gonna vote for this man, and all they doing is talking about $15,000 rebate. A house, low-end house is $150,000. You're getting $15,000 rebate. You still got to pay the mortgage and you got to pay the property tax. If it goes down like it is, you automatically lose. You automatically go into debt. We need to have what the illegal aliens are having. Illegal aliens. They're giving them all of that. They're giving them the TIN number. We have to keep on repeating. They're giving them a driver's license, giving them free health care, no copay, giving them subsidized housing in the suburbs, and they are giving them the ability to have a job guaranteed. And guess who's guaranteed to be training them? You. You are going to train. Do you have children? Do you have children? Do you have children? You will be there training them. You will be there training them, and you will have your pink slip because they will work for cheaper. You will have your pink slip that November. You know how they drop pink slips every November and December? And just around Christmas time. November, pink slips. Oh boy, everybody is having, we thought we were going to have a great holiday season, a great Christmas. We thought we were going to have a great New Year's, but no, they get the pink slip. They're going to bring that illegal immigrant in, and then you're going to train them, and they're going to kick you. You're going to vote for this. You're going to vote for this Dixiecrat. You're going to vote for this because they never want you up. They fooled you the first time. They're going to fool you the second time. They got her coming out in chucks, and everybody's happy about Kamala, because she's Indian, Kamala Harris, coming out in chucks. Then she came out flashing in Timbs. Okay, we saw enough of that when Obama had on his sunglasses and he was coming through and he was just styling with clothing. Enough of that. You want to be put into a situation where you can not survive. Get on that, and they give you that $15,000, a low-end house, $150,000. Let them give you that while they're bringing in the immigrant and giving them free subsidized housing in the suburbs. You should go just Google the Black Panther plan, right? The 10-point plan, the Black Panther, and you will read it and you'll say, dang, they giving the immigrants what the Black Panthers told them did. American blacks needed way back in October of 66, right? They're doing the same thing. Some of the things that Trump has implemented in his 10-point plan that came from the pastors that everybody called them coons. One of them is keeping the illegal aliens out, and more black people are working at different levels in the workforce, different positions in the workforce. All of that goes away. Do I have to sound like Hulk Hogan? Come on, brother. Let me be the Negro Whisperer. The Negro Whisperer. Come on, brother. You don't want that, brother. You don't want that. Oh, God didn't tell you, brother, that you was going to have to be and have to train people that going to look down on you. We just showed you an immigrant on episode 17 that said that Martin Luther King, that somehow it flipped up Martin Luther King, the CRT, but the CRT is Martin Luther King's thinking. But she said, no, that Martin Luther King don't judge a person by the content of their skin, but the content of their character. Don't judge them by their skin, but the content of their character. Come on, brother. That's right. They see, if you notice when you watch white people talk and they say, don't judge the person by the color of their skin, but the content of the character. But they're talking about you as an American black. Don't judge the white person by their color of skin, but the content of their character. They flipped it on you and you didn't notice. You didn't notice because you thought those words, but when you listen to them and you listen to them good, you got to listen to them good and have clarity. You got to be sober when you're listening. And you sit there and you listen to it and they say, don't judge a person by their skin color, but by the content of character. They're talking about you as an American black. Don't judge them. What did they flip that? They need to stop judging us by everything that you see out there in the media today is a flip on Martin Luther King, even to the point where people who are calling on you. Just saw another video today where the guy was a census taker, black man census taker, and the white woman, they got the three. We showed you the three different Beckys and the Susie and whatever they call them, the Karens and the Sharons or whatever they call them, right? And so she was one of the older ones, and she was calling and called on him, right? And she's supposed to not be judging him by the color of his skin, but the content of his character. When he said that he was in there taking care of business, that phone should have been down. But no, it's flipped. And she's saying, don't judge me by my skin color. Judge me by the content of my character. I'm calling on you because I can't trust you because you're nothing but a Come on, brother. Do I have to sound like Hulk Hogan to be the Negro whisperer? Come on, brother. You don't want that. You don't want a person putting people into office, putting a person in the office that puts your people in chains for real. 100 to 1. Come on, brother. You don't want that. 3 strikes. You don't want that. You don't want that because they wanted to fund the Nicaraguan Contras with weapons that came from Iran. Iran is supposed to be their enemy, but Reagan was getting the arms from Iran to give to the Contras to try to take care of Noriega. Come on, people. And the crack, the Ready Rock, the cocaine they brought in, put through the neighborhoods, pushed through by Rick Ross from California to Maine to Florida to Texas, back to California, and all parts in between, was the money that funded it, but you forget. And then after that, after they decimated the people and made the women strawberries, and that's what we have to get atonement for what was done. I never sold though, right? I never sold though. But people have to make atonement for what they did. That's a lot of things. We're too much into this forgiveness. We're too much into this forgiveness. There are people who have walked around in our neighborhoods who have killed each other up. And we say nothing. And they don't ever, when they get up and speak, they're supposed to have turn their life around. Every time they pick up and get up and speak, they're supposed to say, please forgive me for being one of the ones that killed up my own people. You have to stand up every single time and atone for it. There are people who have walked around who have had multiple abortions, have killed up 22 million, nearly half of what we would be 66 million in this country, but they killed them up. You could have found another way. Could have had responsible family members. If we had all been out there fighting on the American black agenda instead of trying to be in coalition with all these different other people, if we had done that, then there would have been a economic infrastructure to be able to raise those 22 million. We have killed ourselves, and we have to admit it. That is not no coon talk. That's real talk. We have to admit it to make ourselves atone for it and come out right for it, right? We have to come out and make sure that we are atone for it, to make sure that our slate is clean, so as we go out here and fight. And most of the time, the people don't want to say, hey, the white man did that, but I did that too, so I ain't gonna say nothing against the white man, cause I did that too. And nigga, excuse me, nigga, please, nigga, please.
You couldn't hold it.
I couldn't, nigga, please. Just because you did it, you make atonement for it. You make atonement for it every time when you get up and speak in front of different audiences. You're a pastor now. You're a motivational speaker. You're such and such. You're this and that. You're this and that. You're doing that. You're a family man. I did this. I did not know what the detriment of it was going to be. I ask for your forgiveness, and I atone for my sins by doing what I do now. But right now, we got to go after and make sure that the people who profited from off of what I did while I was 100-to-1 casualty and 3 strikes casualty, I have to make sure that the people who put me in have to atone for what they did. And the best way for Biden to atone for what he did is to get a no vote and not get it.
Exactly.
Racism did not begin with Donald Trump. It does not end with Donald Trump.
That's
all
right.
These popping fresh people registering, they got in as soon as Obama got in there. All of a sudden, they popping fresh. They know everything. I've been registered because I was 19 years old, 30 years, 49 now, 30 years. Seen it, then heard it, then almost seen it all. They heard it all when it comes to what the politicians say they're going to do. And within them 30 years, just my 30 years of being cognizant and conscious of what it was, nothing has changed.
Nothing
has changed. I mean, you know what was wrong though? CRT was running through the system since 89.
Mm-hmm.
I registered to vote in 89. Had I known that, I could have been on the CRT model and pushing that all the way through. But we were inundated with Black Power, which Black Power is cool because the 10-point plan came from off of the Panthers and having Black Power and Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, excuse me. Right? So there's nothing wrong with that, but we didn't know that it was constantly moving. We thought it was stagnant and standing still. Nobody was listening, but they were listening and they were putting it through, and Trump just signed it. And what is the cost? We asked you yesterday, what is the cost? Don't say damn when you hear the price. What is the price for us not knowing, being ignorant? It is now him signing this to wipe away all of the gains that CRT was doing that we didn't know it was doing because we weren't organized to mobilize, to galvanize CRT to the way it was supposed to be, because we had feckless leaders talking about, I want to be down with the anarchists. I want to be down with the anarchists. I want to be down with the accelerationists. I want to be down with the arsonists. Peace. Now there's peace in the Middle East, but we still ain't got our reparations. Remember when rap used to say peace in the Middle East? But now there's peace in the Middle East, but we ain't got our reparations. Because we ain't been in here.
Still talking.
Because we were listening to what the Dixiecrats said, talking about we're not going to do anything for him, because they were butt sore from when the Republicans did it to Obama, but they were more organized. And now they didn't created these accelerationists and these arsonists, the AAA, and now they can't turn it off. They're not going to be able to turn it off. And you're out there with them. Boy, best thing to do is that old, the old Negro spirituals, that old Negro wisdom. I'm just going to sit back here and stay out the way. I'm just going to watch this. And whoever wins this civil war, then we're going to negotiate about getting our piece of the pie. Because I finally got a piece of the pie. Come on now.
Well, the thing about it is they are, even to the thing of keeping BLM, co-opted BLM, that's just to draw you, because everybody needs our muscle. Everybody need our vote. Everybody need our money. Everybody need our mind power. Everybody need it. So they had to have a way to keep you on board. Once they succeed, if they were to succeed, which, you're not going to tear down no state I'm in as long as I'm in it. Now, how about that? My prayer alone will take care of that. I promise you. But after, if they were able to tear down the state, then they got somewhere they can go back to. If they tear down the structure, where you going? Where you going? Because where you going? Because when you get done doing that, When you go try to, now you like a mouse in a maze. You looking around, which way I go? There's a trap on that end. There's a trap on that end. Which way I go? Which way I go? Which way I go? So when you go to turn back to go the other way, I don't want no part of you either. You was over there with them. You was over there with them. There ain't no place where you over here. But guess what? There was never any place. Because, and then the reparation, the seriousness of the reparations being held is you're held in limbo on so many different levels and on so many different things. And no matter which side of the Civil War they're on, they're all in agreement on that. That's why neither side is talking. If they don't agree on nothing else, on the point that they don't want us to get what we supposed to get so we can mobilize and we can do what we need to do, they're in agreement on that. They will call a summit and throw up a truce flag, throw in the white towel. When we get to this one, when we get to this point, our problem is, because you mentioned what's her name coming off the plane in some Chucks and some Tims, and we
Kumala.
I mean, so we acting like simpletons. So they think that we are so simple-minded that would be entertaining and it would be, oh, they cool. We don't need leaders who are cool. We need leaders who know how to lead, and it's going to lead with our interest in mind. Her coming off the plane in some Tims and some Chucks, I don't care if she had on galoshes. I don't care if she had on 5-inch spiked heels. I don't care what she come off a plane in. She's not speaking our language. She's not about us. I don't care. Because while she came off with those things on, she probably was wearing some designer suit that was not a black designer either. So they think that we are so caught up, and we have proven, we've actually given them the weapons with which to develop their mindset concerning us in some ways. They think that we're so wrapped up in entertainment and being entertained that some Chucks and some Tims would sway us in their direction. What? Or her using some hip language. What? Because all I'm listening for is what you're not saying. So as long we can do this till the end of time, because you're not saying what I need you to say, and then I need you, while you're saying it, have already started putting things in motion. This is what we're doing, not this is what we're gonna do, because y'all lied. So giving us a promise, your word means about as much as a 20-year-old can of paint that's been sitting with the top open. It means nothing. Your word is continually fell to the ground. There's no integrity. There's no character in politics as a whole. Now, not everybody is lacking integrity and lacking character, but the ones we need in place to make the decisions are not doing it. They're not in the positions. So those that are, y'all consistently lie. That's the one thing you've been consistent in, is being consistent in lying and being inconsistent with the truth. So you saying that we're going to be doing, we'll be rolling. No, I need you to come to the podium and say, this is what we begun. I need you to have receipts saying that you have started something. It's already in motion. Else I'm not listening. And no vote. Before we were saying no justice, no peace. No reparations, no vote. No reparations, no vote. That's a new slogan.
Now, I'm sure that the anarchists or the accelerationists who are one with the arsonists on both sides, they're never going to they won't pick that up. No reparations, no vote. They pick up no justice, no peace. What's up? Is my lying eyes, are they lying? Am I blind? Lying eyes, I'm seeing nothing. But do not be affected by when they say BLM in the news, because they know that the BLM that's out there are white people. If you don't know that, don't worry about it.
You know what? And the thing that gets me, I mean, that burns my butt. Like every time I think about the BLM, first of all, the original movement has been defunct. Then the second resurgence, the rebirth of BLM, then began, it started out on some other mess. And then it got co-opted out to these people. I just feel like going out there and telling them, go sit down somewhere with that BLM. You need another, but the only reason why I wouldn't do that is because it would seem to be taking up for and defending this new BLM. That's what keeps me from doing that. But my thing is, don't have black assigned to nothing on you and what you're doing. Go sit down somewhere with that and quit using the moniker. Stop using it. Somebody need to say it. The jellybacks that co-opted it to him should at least be saying it. You started a movement that you let be taken over. Y'all should at least be saying it. So that means you wasn't really standing for nothing either, other than some other BS agenda that you had going on. It's ridiculous. Somebody needs to tell them to sit down with that black anything. It's ridiculous.
When you're not black.
When you're not black. Sit down. Listen. Shut up. You're not. Oh.
So I was at the virtual breakfast, right? So I was at the virtual breakfast, right? And I'm sitting there listening, and all the people who are supposed to be leaders talking about, we gotta get them out of there. If you're not talking about doing something for black people, if you're not talking about doing something for American black people, we're not talking about the immigrants. Right now it's about 21 million African immigrants in the United States right now. We're 44 million. We would have been 66 million if not for the abortions. And added on, we're going to add in the murders too, right? So on top of the 66 million, we would have been more, but we've been out there killing each other up on war games like the way the white people play war games. The white people play war games for taking over land and oil and riches so they can build their coffers, and we play war games so they can give us 101 and 3 strikes. Okay? So when we're looking at the whole situation, 21 million African immigrants are here who do not believe like we believe, because they come from shanty shacks and backwood mud. When it rains, it's mud. And if they're in the towns like in Nigeria, all you got to do is just go research the rolling outages in Nigeria. I'll be glad when you leave and go over there. Maybe you can fix the grid. But then they'll say, thank you, but you don't belong here because you're just a Carter. But anyway, people know. And so I'll be glad when you go. But that means that those group of people, they are looking forward to them overtaking us, including the ones that you need to watch episode 17 with the woman who was German. Her surname was German Yiddish, and she had an accent, and she had she was melanin, had melanin in her skin, but she was talking pro CLS, not CRT. And if you don't know what that means, that's why we're in the situation we're in right now, because not enough of us know. If you don't know, go back and watch episode 17 and it will show you, right? So I was at that meeting, right? I was at the virtual breakfast. And I'm just sitting there listening. I thought I'll repeat it 4 times so people get it. Everyone knows my writings and what I say. They've been spread. At first, they used to like what I said, but then as it went on, they started looking at it and said, damn, is he talking about me? If you cannot organize and mobilize with your own people, if you are about putting people in a mindset instead of developing their mind state, if you believe that everything, see, now let me make a distinction here, because you heard us say that we have to admit what's our fault.
Right.
But we're not blaming materialism on us. We're not even blaming the housewives of Atlanta. When you go look at the original housewives who were white, they're some of the nastiest, in our opinion, nastiest, dirtiest, potty-mouthed, whorish type women that they are. So again, that is nothing but a copying of what is already there, though the housewives of Atlanta look more beautiful. Black don't crack, as Andy said at one of the reunions. They are more beautiful than the others, but this is something that's on TV. There's an act to get bread, and we have to always remember that. There's always been people who have acted a certain way in the American Black community to get bread. That does not harm us, because we know different types of people. So that coonish thought about, oh, materialism and we did this and we do to ourselves and all that. No, that's coonish talk. What we say is, because we are not aware of what is happening, we have done some things to ourselves that we have to atone for, so that we can put on the armor and stomp out the vineyards where the grapes of wrath are stored.
Right.
We have to be ready to do that. And one way to do that is to say, I'm atoned for what I did, get on my knees. Yes, I did this. I admit it. I admit it out there openly. Then I'm going to put on this armor, and I'm going to get out there and say, until we get what we are there to get, we are not going to accept anything less. We're not going to accept Donald Trump's executive order, right?
Right. We're not accepting
history only at 1776. We're not going to accept that. We're going to go to 1619, and we're going to go back even further to prove our point to why you got to pay what is owed, because reparations has many different definitions. But one of them has to do with people being harmed during war and having to pay for what you've done to people when there was a war, and the senseless beyond war, because there's the Geneva Convention and how you're supposed to treat soldiers who are from the enemy, how you're supposed to treat them, and we got none of that. Right? So we're talking about before 1619. We're talking about the 1300s. We're talking about when people were first exploring, after we had groups of us had already traveled around, but there were a group of blacks already here on this continent before the Asians, or what do they call those? What do they call them? Mongoloids came across the Bering Strait to take over and beat Native Americans. Before the $5 Indians, they looked more like me and looked more like my sister. Okay, so look. So we already told you 388,000. Does that beget 44 million? 388,000 black bodies landed here to be enslaved, not by their own, but by the people who brought them here in chains, to be used as chattel to build this country, to use their brain power to build this country, or commingle in with the people who are already here and labeled, designated as colored and Negro. Does 388,000 beget 44 million? No, that means that there were people already here. So that means that there is a war crime. The reparations has to be paid
All right now.
beyond 1619. But that has to be paid. And being that we are commingled and we have commingled our blood together, that means that the reparations has to be paid for the war crime, and the reparations have to be paid for the enslavement, the Jim Crow, the lies and the cheating and the police brutality and the subjugation to less than humanhood. All of that has to be paid for, and choosing to be on one side or the other. So we use that, and y'all have to really take and have a middle standing and start to have an overstanding on it. You being loyal has not gotten you what you want on either side. I don't believe in the Republicans, don't believe in the Democrats. I believe in American black. I am an American black citizen in the United States of America, the corporation, and the corporation owes. The corporation owes. Then, outside of that, you have the mid-Atlantic slave trade. Only 388,000 made it here. But then there are middle passage where slaves were dumped. There were people who were black bodies, who were human beings, were dumped off the side because they were weaker. All that's got to be paid for.
All of it.
So that means that that's not only a United States American black man, American black woman thing, but that's a Jamaican, Barbados, Dominican Republic, Haiti, etc. Any place, Jamaica, any place where we are, that is something that needs to be, that's a whole nother, that's an international reparations. That includes those Africans that were holding slaves.
Uh-oh.
They got to pay. So anybody who say they from Igbo, I'm side-eyeing them. Because the woman wrote the article in the New Yorker. All you got to do is Google and read the New Yorker article. My great-great-grandfather, the slave trader. All you have to do is just Google that. It's a New Yorker article. It's right there for you to read, where she talks about what happened after the mid-Atlantic slave trade was over. That's more they have to pay. So this is not a kumbaya moment, but all those people who want to go back over to Africa, I wish you would hurry up and leave so that we can have the people who are ready to organize and mobilize and move this out and say, we're not going to be in coalition with you over here or you over there, because we have seen throughout history, all we have to do is just read his story and know that people who believe in anarchy and those who definitely believe in white supremacy have never been friends to American black me or you. And so that's what we're saying. So when you're sitting there and you're going to the polls, and I tell people, I'm not voting for Trump because Trump is a racist. We know who he is. Biden is an undercover racist. That's even worse. So much undercover. Did you forget what he did to you? That's the worst. That's the Dixiecrat way. At least the Dixiecrats that jumped over the Republican Party and said that the South would never be taken by the Democrats again. At least they were honest and open. And they're still honest and open. But these people over here, we are in a situation where they have not given us an out. And taking sides is not giving us an out
at all.
But they need to hand those reparations. So I was at that virtual breakfast, right? And we got to get him out. No, we don't have to get him out there because racism did not begin with Donald Trump. It's not going to end with Donald Trump. Racism didn't even begin with Biden. but Biden was a major participant and player within it to cause damage to American black people, to dwindle numbers. If only numbers on the street, but to dwindle numbers. And then what happens when they went inside and certain things happened and HIV came? To dwindle numbers, all because there was a cause and effect. Cause. He pushed those two bills. They're incarcerated. AIDS come about. Decimate the community, not only with the crack, but the AIDS too. And quiet as is kept, truth be told, is the black people that were commingling with Caucasians that had the AIDS virus that brought it into the community too. Come on now. We need to atone for what we did, then put on the armor and get into the vineyards and stomp out the grapes of wrath, where the grapes of wrath are stored. This is what we need to be talking about. Anything else is coonish behavior, is coonish behavior, is coonish behavior. Ask anyone who knows my business dealings. Rest in peace, Franklin G. Rest in peace, Franklin G. Franklin G, every time he would talk to me about doing something, I said, I'm not doing it. He said, we can do this ourselves. We are black people. We can do this ourselves. Until you get out of that mind state, you will always be co-opted. Look at BLM. That is the biggest example of being co-opted. And now when they say BLM, they are terrorists. Yes, they are terrorists because they are Caucasians. Talking about BLM.
And every time you hear that, you're thinking about us. Every time you hear BLM, it's steering your mind to us. But you're not seeing us. The cause is not about us. It's not us burning up buildings. It's not us talking about tearing down the state. But when you hear the name, you think us. So by the time discussions about us come, you're going to reference their deeds and their activities and attribute them to us because it was Black Lives Matter movement that was doing this stuff. So you're going to attribute their deeds to us as a justification.
And that's racist.
Defense.
Let me interject right there before you continue. That's racist because how you know it's racist, look at what was happening in Missouri when Mike Brown went down. When it was all American blacks out there protesting, they brought out every weapon they could to try out against the American blacks. When they found out, when they saw that it was majority white, their children, they started dealing in kid gloves. So for them to sit up there and say that they see us when they see Black Lives Matter, that is disingenuous and that is truly racist because they know better. Facts, Tracy Latrice said, but not everyone is ready to leave the Dems plantation, sadly. So they know that it's not us, and we know, and we try to put it across to you that we know that it's not us, it is them. Continue on.
See, now this is definitely a fan apt moment. This is something that will call for that. It will call for it. Because if you're seeing something, it's right before your face, but you're seeing something else. Wait, you seeing one thing, but you hearing other voices telling you that it's something else. That's a fan app moment. And whether it's conscious or unconscious, you need something regulating your brain. It's out of control. So people, we've been telling you this stuff. So how much more executive orders got to be passed? How much more stuff got to be signed? We gonna keep at this? You want to keep on tilting? You want to keep on playing spill the beans? Keeps dropping the bean in the thing until it tip over. That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna keep sitting there waiting and watching and looking to the person next to you, seeing the person next to you gonna do something. Maybe, okay, when they start, then I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start when they start. I'm gonna say something. Wait a minute. I've seen this over and over again. I remember I was at this church service, and the guy that was up there preaching was pretty bold, because the things he was saying probably meant he was not going to be invited back, right? He was saying some stuff. And so I'm looking at the leadership. So you got your leadership, you have your pastors or the people over the house. Then you got apples. Then you got the people on the front row. Those are your elders and ministers and stuff like that in this particular environment. So they looking to see how the pastor looking before they can even say amen. Now you know that man up there is saying some stuff that's true. You know he is, but you can't stand on your own and say amen. I hear that. Thank the Lord for somebody coming in and telling the truth. You couldn't do that. You didn't have to make a spectacle of yourself, but you could have just been like, amen. But no, you had them looking down at the pastor to see if they were receiving it. If the pastor wasn't receiving it, they wasn't going to receive it. This is exactly what's going on right here. People are focusing their attention or lack thereof on whatever. And you're going to have some people, no matter what we say. Like, I'm going to tell you something. One thing I watch it on those lives. Well, I can see it now since we're on Facebook Live. I watch when that eye goes up numbers and goes down numbers. So people come in, they listen for a few minutes, and they're not hearing nothing entertaining.
Something that releases that dopamine. If the dopamine is not being released. Right.
When some people came in and you said you either a coon Dixiecrat or a coon Republican. I'm not a coon Dixiecrat or a coon Republican. They dip right out. Because they're going to vote. Whoever you are, there's a good thing I can't see names when they come in and out. They don't let you see the name when they come in and out. It's like, oh, so we know you're going to vote because you were offended by hearing coon on either side of the coin. So you dipped out. You didn't listen to the rest of the content. That is the problem. Not being able to reference content. Not being able to gather content with which to make informed, intelligent decisions that are going to be on your behalf. But instead, you're going to keep on repeating history. You fan apt already. You're going to keep on repeating history. And said, maybe this time. This time ain't started since we started voting. This time ain't never been. So for you to think this, I don't know, maybe it's some new drugs. We need to concoct some new drugs like Fanap mixed with antipsychotic. So Fanap is a schizophrenic drug. We need to mix it with antipsychotic. We need to mix it with bipolar. We need to concoct something that's all together so it can address all this mental illness that's on these people for still thinking that they're going to do things the same way and see some changes. I mean, my God, what is it going to take? It's not, I'm sorry, it ain't going to be at church prayer meeting that you're going to get the changes done. It ain't going to be that because you're in authority. God left you here to be in authority. Christ is not going to have anything to do with the voting. I'm sorry. Can you please go read your Bible? Can you please understand what his purpose was and what it was not? You're not going to pray. You're not going to fast. You're not going to preach the vote. Now, anybody can step to me with that if they want to. We can stand here and we can hold dialogue, and I'm going to show you in the scripture where it's not Christ's job, it's not God's job, it's our job. So don't sit there and be an imbecile. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And I a lot of times, sometimes when I get passionate, it sounds funny, and it comes across humorous, but I am dead serious. I'm serious. It's 5 heart attacks in 15 minutes. I'm serious. I'm serious. I'm serious. What are we gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do then this week? Because I'm not hooking up with nobody that ain't trying to do nothing. If you're just sitting around talking, you ain't speaking my language. You just, I don't know. I don't know what, I don't want to even, I can come up with a whole lot of superlatives and a whole lot of names that I'm going to choose to forego at this time, but I'm not going to be talking to you. Because you ain't talking about nothing. Talking loud and saying nothing, James Brown said.
It ain't saying nothing.
Saying nothing. Saying nothing. Why in the world are we still sitting around begging for what belongs to us? And letting people kick us in the teeth. They kicking our teeth 3 inches back into our face right now. And we still talking about choosing a side. I can't do it anymore. Y'all are really wearing me out. You're wearing me out.
They're laughing. They're laughing about it. Kicking 3 feet, 3 inches back and laughing. And laughing. We got those niggas again. Listen, people. As we close out, we don't have time for feckless leadership. Right? We here at hashtag TFR Podcast Live OB, we drop information to you. Make sure that you go over to the Film Review Live channel on YouTube and subscribe. Share the videos. This will be up shortly because we did it the classic way. But again, hashtag TFR Podcast Live OB, that is observations with myself and my special guest host, Tanya M. Congress. We disseminate information, right? Then it's up to you to get off take one foot off, the other foot off, take your hands off, get off the hamster wheel, get out the mindset of just following what you believe aimlessly. Open up your mind and begin to develop your mind state. Get out the mindset, start the mind state, where you start to watch and get the facts and develop what your truth is about the facts, right? But going around thinking that you're going to do the same thing again. And how they get you is through different generations coming up. Every 4 years, there's a new set of 18-year-olds coming up. Bright-eyed and, as they say, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, right? But you know what happens to bright-eyed and bushy-tailed rabbits out there when it's hunting season? I'm going to hunt some rabbits. Next thing you know, that them bright eyes, depending on if they eat from the rooter to the tutor, them bright eyes is on a plate with the ears and the brain and the eyes and the meat cooked, tastes like chicken, and the bushy tail is an ornament, and the rabbit's foot is being shrunk down like the witch doctor's head shrunk down, and then you get the little rabbit's foot. But that's what happens to bright-eyed and bushy-tailed rabbits. Rabbits more like in the tradition of Bugs Bunny, live to tell the tale. So which type of bunny rabbit are you gonna be? Are you gonna be the bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, unaware bunny rabbit? Or are you gonna be Bugs Bunny, the rabbit that, always wins, no matter who he's put against? So that's what we want to say, people. You have been listening and watching. You can hear the replay on Apple Podcasts. Go there and binge listen. Just go to Google and type in TFR, hashtag TFR Podcast Live OB, and all the episodes come up and you can listen. Make sure you go back and binge listen 11 through 17, and then go back and listen 10 to 1, right? Or listen to all of them, 1 through 17, and this one also, right? Monday, it's reparations back then, reparations now, reparations in the future. As we lay out this and we bring it to you with visual aids, we'll have the green screen back in the popping, you know.
I missed our aids surprises
today. Yeah. So, you know, stay tuned for that. We appreciate you tuning in and listening to us. Go back. We dropped information in this too without the visual aids. You need to go back and listen and just go research. Research.
Please.
Get off the hamster wheel. Get off the hamster wheel. Get off the hamster wheel. Get out that mindset and get into that mind state. And mobilize, organize, mobilize, without the need of having an overseer, a Caucasian overseer in the room with you. All right, people. So this has been another robust episode of hashtag TFR Podcast Live OB by Crazy D with my special guest host, my sister, Tanya M. Congress. Make sure you smash the share, like button, follow button over to the Film Review Live channel and smash the subscribe button. And we will see you on Monday. And remember, it's reparations back then, reparations now, and reparations in the future. We'll see you on
Here's the thing about your movie, why I made the curator's pick of the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Community, heart, heart, heart.
Crazy.